It says in Psalms 95, "Oh, come, let us sing for joy to the Lord. Let us shout joyfully to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving. Let us shout joyfully to him with psalms. For the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods, in whose hand are the depths of the earth. The peaks of the mountains are his also. The sea is his, for it was he who made it. His hands formed the dry land." Verse 6, "Come, let us worship and let us bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, the sheep of his hand. Today, if you would hear his voice, and do not harden your hearts as in Meribah, as in the days of Massa, in the day of the wilderness, when your fathers tested me. They tried me, though they had seen my work. For 40 years I loathed that generation, and I said they were a people who err in their heart, and they do not know my ways. Therefore I swore in my anger, truly they shall not enter into my rest. Come, let us sing for joy to the Lord. Let us shout joyfully to the rock of our salvation." Father, your presence is already so rich and already so real in this house. And for that I am most grateful. I cannot say thank you enough for visiting us on this first day of the year. And God, as the saying goes, whatever happens on the first day is going to happen all year. I pray this Spirit will rest in this house for the rest of this year. Sweet, powerful, and anointed let it be. Now anoint the words of my lips. I pray that you would anoint me to preach this simple message in Jesus' name. Amen. This morning I've titled this message a simple title, Let's Celebrate. Everybody say, let's celebrate. This morning we have the privilege of starting a brand new year. It's a day in which we'll make new commitments and new promises. We'll set new goals. We'll start new diets and exercise routines. Actually, mine's going to start tomorrow. And they probably only last a few days, to be honest. But at least we start the year with a sense of a fresh start. And I don't want us to be any different this new year. We need to eat our black-eyed peas and our greens, although some of y'all been eating them for 75 years and you're still just as broke as you ever been. We need to make new plans and we need to set new goals for 2023. But in reality, a new year is simply a day of hanging new calendars around the house because I'm going to carry my debt of today or my debt of yesterday into today. My confusion is still going to cause a fog. My sickness is still going to linger. My hurts are still going to be here. More than likely, and I'm only going to speak for myself, Summer, I'm going to weigh exactly the same next year as I do this year. However, I will blow up and shrink down, and I will blow up and shrink down, but normally I'm always basically the same size. So what really is in a new year? What really is in a new year? I know for Amy and I, we will be grandparents in 24 days. 24 days, I'll become a papa. I'll bask in the glow of a new stage of life while trying to balance the current stage of life that I'm in because Sadie's only 14 and we still got her to raise, praise the Lord Jesus. And I know I don't look near old enough to be a grandfather. I know that. It's a shock to myself as well when I look in the mirror. I do notice my dad's body starting to look more like a grandpa's body, thank the Lord. In a new year, some of us or some of you may change jobs. You may get promotions. You may get demotions. We may lose loved ones and have to go through unseen battles. We may have the best year ever, or possibly we could have the worst year ever. But there's going to be one thing constant in every obstacle that we're going to face in 2023. In our ups and in our downs, in our surprises of life, in our disappointments of life, God will still be God. I may have victories and I may have defeats, I may have success and I may have failure, but none of that will change who God is. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He will be a steady rock in the times of storm. He will be my shade in extreme heat. He will be my shelter in times of cold. He was my everything in 2022, and he will be my everything in 2023. Amen. My life may be an even steady consistencies, even more steady than Chris Ely's, who's got the steadiest line of a life ever. And it may be a dramatic shifts of a cosmic proportions, but through it all, God's going to be God. If we look back over 2022, you'll find times when you were on the mountaintops and you were wowed at the glory of God. And you'll also probably notice over this last year, sometimes you were in the valley. You were despondent, you were broken, you were hurting, but now you can see how God's comfort amazed you. As we reflect on the past, we'll discover, as I've said already, a constant. And that consistency is not us because we know how to be unfaithful. Our consistency is not us because we are unfortunately a little emotional and we will be played by our feelings. But I have committed my life to a God, and I know that that God that I've committed is the anchor of my soul. So today I celebrate him because he has not changed and he will not change. He will still be consistent. Let us celebrate that he's faithful when we're not. Let us celebrate that the Lord has come and that he is still near to all of those who call upon his name. Let us celebrate the Messiah because he's cleansed us from all unrighteousness. Let us celebrate that the old has gone and my sin is covered. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17 says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, this person is a new creation. The old things have passed away. Behold, the new things have come. I'm no longer defined by my past mistakes. I'm no longer the man I used to be. I'm no longer the man that you saw in the gutter, saw in my addiction. I've been changed by Christ. When I put my faith in him, he's made all things new. And I celebrate today that he is still able today to do what he did yesterday. He's still able to guide my steps and direct my paths. I celebrate that today, that even in the seasons of my darkness, he is there. I celebrate that when I am weak, he's going to be strong. I celebrate today that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that I'm able to ask or think. I celebrate today that I am saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. I celebrate that the cross gives me victory over death. The cross gives me victory over sin. The cross gives me victory over addiction. The cross gives me victory over depression. The cross gives me victory over my anxiety. I celebrate today because of the great works of Jesus Christ that died on the cross. And because he died on the cross, I have victory over everything I'm going to face this year. And Christ is still available to the whosoever. I celebrate because the Lord is great. Oh, come, let us worship. Oh, come, let us bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God. And we are the people of his pasture. We're the sheep of his hand. Today, let us hear his voice. Do not harden your heart, but take heed to the word of God, that he's calling you out of darkness into his light. I know that in the natural, you may see disaster. You may be faced with circumstances that are heartbreaking or are uncomfortable to bear, but God is still God. Today, let us set aside our feelings. Let us set aside our uncertainties. Let us just celebrate. Can we, for a moment, forget about the 15 pounds we need to lose? Can we forget about the exercise that's plaguing us or the lack thereof? And can we just, except for Scott and Jan, can we just rejoice in the Lord? Can we just today forget about the struggles? Can we forget about the bills that we need to start paying? We all have a grace day because it's a federal holiday tomorrow. So on Tuesdays, we have to start paying January's bills. Can we forget about that for just a moment? Can we forget about the sicknesses that are plaguing our families or the disappointments that are plaguing our children? And for just a moment, can we just celebrate a God that is faithful? He's God. He's God. He's God. He's God. God is a comfort. He is peace. He is hope. He is love. He's infinite. He's unchanging. He's all sufficient and all powerful. God is all knowing. He's always everywhere. He is full of perfect wisdom. He's faithful. He's full of goodwill. He's just. He's merciful. He's gracious. He's loving. He's holy. He's glorious. He's deserving of our praise. Oh, come, let us adore him. Let us celebrate this morning the greatness of our God. Somebody in Rising Fund, give God celebration this morning. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. He is great. Come, let us sing for the joy of the Lord. Let us shout joyfully to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving. Let us shout joyfully to him with psalms. For the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods. He is worth celebrating today. Oh, I'm so thankful that his word has kept me in the past, and it will be his word that will keep me in the future. I have his word that will provide peace to me. I have a word that will provide correction for me. I have a word that will lift me up, and a word that, if I need it, will strike me down. Thank God I've got a word that will show me love and a word that will show me hope. It orders my steps. It guides my path. Thank God I have a word. If I need to be rebuked, it rebukes me. If I need to be comforted, it comforts me. Let us celebrate that this year, when you're in the darkest of your times, even though you can't feel God, we have a word that will be found in the middle of our feelinglessness, and we'll have a word that will bring us through all the troubles and trials of our life. Thank God there is still a word that can spark faith. I don't walk by feelings, I walk by faith. So I'm going to find a word that's going to keep me in my night. I'm going to let his word become a voice into my spirit. I'm going to let the word become his presence to me. Let me pause and just chase one little donkey here, because they're easier to catch than rabbits. I wonder if you would spend more time in the Word, if you'd find him more. I wonder if you would just begin to seek him in his Word, because in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God and was with God, and Jesus became flesh. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and yet we want to sense him in all kind of sensual emotion. But if you'll just seek him in the word, I got a feeling you'll touch the hem of his garment. I believe if you'll just seek him in the word, you'll bump into him in the middle of your darkness, because I know he dwells in the thick darkness of my life. I believe if we'll just seek him in the word, all of a sudden comfort will come in my times of discouragement. In this new year, I'm going to challenge you. Seek him in the word. Let us celebrate that we've got a word that will be with us. Let us celebrate that the word becomes a voice, that the word becomes life, that the word becomes my security. I celebrate today because God has given me his word. Psalms chapter 9, verse 7 through 10. This is something I should probably teach on a Wednesday night. I'm just going to read it and make an emphasis with my tone. Listen to what it says in verse 7 of Psalms 9. The law of the Lord is perfect. It restores the soul. You need restoration? The law of the Lord is perfect. The testimony of the Lord is sure. It makes wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing in the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure. It enlightens the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean. It endures forever. The judgment of the Lord are true. They're righteous altogether. They're more desirable than gold. Yes, much more than pure gold. They're sweeter also than honey dripping from the honeycomb. Moreover, your servant is warned by them. In keeping them, there is a great reward. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Hey, I ask you this morning, what do you really desire? Do you really desire God? Do you really desire to be so close that you can smell him in his presence? Do you desire him in all areas of your life? Do you desire him more than you desire popularity or promotion? Do you desire God in all areas of your life? Do you desire God in your marriage? Are you allowing his word to order the structure of your family? Are you allowing God and his standards to affect what type of employee you are or in Rocky's case, employer you are you allowing God to be in all aspects, not just a fun worship service on Sunday mornings? See, the one thing to celebrate him with, we can celebrate with shouts and cheers on Sunday. We can sing some music, and we can sing some redbacks, and we can rejoice in being together. And I love rejoicing being together more than anything. I love rejoicing together. What does the fragrance of your worship smell like Monday through Saturday? Let me begin to end. Don't turn on the music yet, sound booth. This is just a hint that I'm about to end. And I know this story doesn't relate much to what I've been talking about, but I'm going to tie it together. How do you respond when a famine hits? How do you respond when a famine hits? Because let's be real, in 2023, you may have plenty every day of the year, but we may also have some lack. How will you respond when a famine hits? Remember the story, and I love this story. I'm not a preacher that has a favorite verse. The only thing I have is a favorite food, and that is donuts. Thank you for those of you who know your pastor. In 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 24, all the way through chapter 7, there was a great famine in the land. People were starving. They were buying donkey heads. That's not a lot of meat on those things. For 80 shekels of silver. They were buying 2 cups of dove's dung or dove's poop, or they were going for 5 shekels of silver. But here's when we know things got bad. It got so desperate, they were so hungry that a couple of women boiled their baby and ate him. Outside of the city, there was 4 leopards starving to death on the outside of the city because they were not allowed in. And they decided to take a chance to do something. And they said to themselves this line, why do we sit here until we die? We can sit here and die, they said to themselves, or we can go to the camp of the Arameans. And either they're going to give us food and we'll live, or either they're going to kill us. But either way, let us not sit here. Let's take a chance. When the leopards arrived into the Aramean camp, they found the camp empty of people, but full of food and full of provisions, full of supplies, full of gold, and full of everything. They began to sit and feast, going tent to tent, eating all they could. They'd take some of the gold goblets and they'd go bury them and hide them for a later time. And then all of a sudden they said to themselves, wait a second. One of them said, ooh, we're not being very kind. Why don't we go back to the camp and tell the king? The people were in a famine. They were hurting. 4 miserable, desperate people found a gift from heaven and decided to go back to the camp and share it. And they went from a famine to a feast instantly. I want to tell you today that no matter how famished you may be right now, God is able to take a famine and turn it into a feast overnight. What God did was he made some noise hover over the Aramean camp, and they got afraid and fled. I have a feeling God wants to set a noise above you and your family and over the Rising Fun Church that will cause our enemies to flee and to leave us with the spoil, that we can go from a famine to a feast overnight. But you got to be willing to take a chance. You've got to be willing to take a chance. You may be hard pressed in advice today, and maybe you don't know what to do, but I believe by morning you can overflow with joy. But you got to take a chance. You've got to decide that you're going to lift up a voice even in the middle of weakness. You're going to lift up a shout this morning. Do not allow your vision of God to disappear with the problems of your life. I know that we all get so overwhelmed with problems and adversity that it's so easy to forget that God is a God that turns a famine into a feast. And he's still able to do that today. I pray that he'll send us a sound of heaven. Don't be afraid to take a chance in 2023. Don't keep the blessing to yourself. I pray, Summer, you just the lady to be called on today. I apologize. Don't be afraid to take a chance and then share it with somebody else. What if Summer holds the breakthrough in her declaration that she made today? What if that declaration is your key to freedom? Don't be afraid to share the spoil of what God wants to give us. Share the glory of the good news. God deserves to be worshiped not just by 4 hungry leopards, but by an entire village. He deserves to be celebrated. He deserves to be shared. I wonder if we can start 2023 with a heart of rejoicing. I wonder if today we can come and sing joy to the Lord. He owns it all. He has it all, created it all. So let's celebrate it for. Let's celebrate him for all that he has. In his hands is the depths of the earth, the Bible says. The peaks of the mountains are his also. The sea is his, for it was he who made it. His hands formed the dry land. Let us celebrate the God who's not changed. Let us celebrate the God who's consistent. He's faithful. He is for us and not against us. Let us trust in a God who's able to do through us more than we can ever imagine. Let's take a chance. And if you're starving where you are, let's take a chance and go find where God has got provision to turn our famine into a feast. No matter what you face in 2023, he's still worthy. He deserves to be celebrated. If you'll stand, Sadie, you can get ready with music. I will not harden my heart today. I will rejoice and be glad. I'm going to challenge you. And I hope I have this name right. Wasn't it Cornelius that was sitting in his house on a 4-day fast, and they said, hey, I'm going to send you somebody to give you a word. And it was he and his house that was saved. I'm going to ask you, and you can turn that up a little louder, Sadie. I'm going to ask you, throughout this month, I'm not calling you to a 21-day fast, and I know some churches think I'm sacrilege because I'm not doing the Daniel fast. And if you want to do it, do it. It's good. We did it for how many years, church? A lot of years. And I'm not against that. I think we need to fast more. I'm going to ask you to give me 4 days of fasting so that we can get the news that God has for us. If you don't fast 4 days this week, maybe next Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you can fast 4 days. Holding the word, saying, okay, God, I'm fasting because I got to have a word. I've got to find you in my darkness. I've got to find you in my adversity. I just need to celebrate you today. Will you make a commitment not to harden your heart? Will you make a commitment to rejoice and be glad in everything he's going to do in your life? He's faithful. Sadie's going to turn this music up. And I invite you to come to this altar, and we're just going to celebrate and rejoice. Sadie, I want you to turn it to where you can hear it without hearing aids. Will some of us join me? Some of you join me in the front. Let's just have a day of rejoicing right now. Come on. Let's just come shout joy and glory and praise to the Lord. If you're not saved, I invite you to this altar. If you need the Lord as your Savior, if you need to be renewed, come find me right now. If you're not in a right place with the Lord, come right now. If you're not in a right place with the Lord, come right now. If you're backslidden, come right now. Yeah, come on. Come fill the altar. We're just going to, today, God, I'm just going to celebrate you. Today, God, we're just going to celebrate you.